Books 860. So, have you ever had one of those moments in life where at first it seems oddly strange and out of order, but then later connects to some bigger serendipitous moment? So, earlier this week, I'm building a shed or trying to with my father in law. I'm full of mud, I'm dirty, I am not in the best mood because of that. And a woman parks outside of my house and proceeds to move up the driveway with no regard of what I'm doing or where I'm at. She can see I'm in the middle of something, but yet she's talking to me and I have no idea what's going on. As she gets closer, I realized that she was a neighbor that lived here well over a decade ago, and she's nice, so I engage her and we get into conversation. And although I was at first keeping her at arm's length and wondering what's going on, I didn't know if she was selling solar panels or anything else. They've been in the area a lot lately. So all these things are occurring in my mind, right, in the rapid fire. So, but she's interesting. And then she gets into a story about the previous homeowners, specifically the father who passed away a couple years ago, and I guess the mother just passed away, and their daughter moved out to Mass. But it just seemed interesting. And she's just telling me, about what her life was like in the neighborhood, what their interactions were, and they were close, and so on and so forth. So, anyways, or they weren't that close, but they were neighbors, and she was with the church organization helping out, blah blah blah. So fast forward in another maybe creepy technological way, I'm on YouTube, and I end up getting turned on to Matches 860, which turns out to be John Harding, which is the father that this lady was talking about previously. So he's an interesting guy. He's very into pipes and tobacco and that world. He builds a community. I guess he's the godfather of tobacco for the Northeast, or that at least that's what he euphemistically is called. So just a fascinating guy, and he really built this community and just kind of really spoke to me and captured my attention in a way that was unique. He seemed, to live an average middle-class life, and work is always important to us, but it was work just to pay the bills, so on and so forth. But somebody that you don't at first glance think to have a rich personal life necessarily. Just because from what I gather, he's a very quiet guy in real life. He keeps to himself. Neighbors knew a little about him when his van was here, when he wasn't, but they didn't really have much interaction. But he has such a rich life in the social media and the virtual space. So I thought it was just interesting. He seems like a very cool guy, and it just captured me. And kind of in the serendipitous way, or back to that serendipitous point that I made earlier. So I am an academic, or I flirt with academics. I publish when I can, and I give keynote speeches. So that's kind of my life in my professional sector. But then in the personal, I don't necessarily. Most of my professional life is just an extension of my personal life, and academics can get very stuffy. They're not necessarily as curious as we think. They're professionals, and I guess there is a point when you do something professional, it becomes less of a hobby. So I've long wanted to build something of that nature for hobbyists. And that's what really John has inspired me to take up that mission. So I've been for a while wanting to build community, taking high intellectual thoughts and ideas out of the so-called ivory tower to engage Main Street, to really bring something to public intellectuals and non-academics who, while they're not professionally academics and they're not professional researchers, are still curious. They want to be curious explorers, aspirational polymaths, that lifelong learning aspect. So that's really what encapsulates this kind of video or this community. I want to build something that engages that. and in true form of being vulnerable. So the last year or so, I've been working on a series called Anthromind, which really engages. I think it's a fun way to engage technology and how humans in society fit into that narrative. So often in tech, we have this technological deterministic viewpoint, which is invariably tech is going to happen the way it does by the people that it does, and it's just there's nothing we can do about it. I don't believe in that. Technology is a tool, and how humans use it and drive it and engage it is the important story. So I wanted to really have not a highbrow, a conversation with the general public about what I think is interesting and do it in a fun way. The vulnerability aspect of that for me was this is not to promote my book or come off bombastic, but really engage. I want to build a community where people who are not authors or don't consider themselves writers or intellectuals can really just try it, get out there. I don't know if this book is good. I don't know if it'll sell. I put little financial effort into it. It wasn't about that. For me, it was just to get the story out, and I have my daughter featured in it and some family members, so I thought it was a fun way. It is on Amazon, so you're more than happy, or you can certainly check it out. But really, again, the whole point was if you don't consider yourself a writer, just do something. I designed the book cover myself. I did all the editing. I had a few colleagues and friends that looked at the editing part. I do that in my professional life. But it was really just the point wasn't about it being great and waiting on greatness. Just do it. And that's what really John inspired me. And I wanted to build on that legacy of taking that mission forward. I won't engage tobacco, or I don't think too much. My mission is really about human society technology and how I don't have intellectual fealty to any specific discipline. I'm curious about a lot of different things from physics to English. And I wanted to build a non-stuffy, non-academic, highbrow community where we can engage the things that we're interested in about. We can think about the things we're interested in thinking about in just a fun way, building off of John's legacy. And I think I mentioned, so John was the former homeowner, and it's just it just really, again, I've been in this week kind of going through things of how interesting it is if a house could talk, what would it say? So there's been several families that I know of that lived here. How they organized the house differently is interesting. So my wife and I, we moved in, or we've been building for the last year and a half, but we moved in February. And it's just interesting to see how he and his family engaged the house, used the house literally from space, how they designed different spaces and the vibe. So I just wanted to build on that and kind of take up John's legacy, build that forward, continue that. If his community is interested in checking this out, cool. Hopefully, I certainly don't mean this to be disrespectful. It was just a really cool individual, and it's something that I wanted to do to really just engage that non-intellectual that is still curious. You know, it used to be that we were interested about things, and we connected with that. So that's what this community is for. Hopefully you appreciate this video. If you do, subscribe, and let's build this together. This platform, I envision it as a combination of maybe doing some book talks of what I'm interested in, what things I've read that week that I thought was interesting, and distilling those main points into a conversation, keeping the videos short and light, nothing too heavy, and just what are you reading? What are you interested in? How can we engage things that matter? And again, I think for me, the biggest takeaway from John in this week is that while I do a lot professionally, most of my hobbies are an extension of my professional life, and I really don't have a hobby just for hobby's sake, and I'm really not building that personal audience. And that's really what I think about most is how do we connect with each other. We all have work to do, and outside of the work, what are things that interested it? For John, it was pipes and tobacco, and how can I build on that with with learning and just in different things that I'm thinking about. Well, I hope you liked the video. Check out future videos, and we'll keep this going.